What's up, Topeka? Welcome to the I'm from Topeka podcast, broadcasting straight from the
North, south, west to the east side.
We're here to bring you the stories of people in the pulse of Topeka. Whether you're a longtime resident or just curious about what makes the city tick, we've got you covered. And to the right of me today, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Schultz. Man, he is here. We're actually sitting in Cosmos Court, and we're running the podcast from here. But this man has been around in Topeka for quite some time. He's been behind the scenes, and I didn't realize it, but he's been behind the scenes on a lot of different things that's gone on here in Topeka, and he is quite the visionary for a lot of things. So let's give it up for Mr. Chris Schultz. Let's go, man.
What's going on, man?
That's quite an introduction. Thank you very much.
No problem, man.
Glad to have you guys here with
man.
us.
Thank you for taking the time to sit with us, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
This is super cool. I've done this stuff with you guys. I met you guys, and I love what you're doing. Absolutely love what you're doing.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I did this for a long time. Talked to a lot of people in this community, and like being able to do that made me love it so much more.
Yeah.
I know I love the people who love me. I love the people. They're all there, but this ability to tell the stories of the people in the community. It's really cool.
Yeah.
There's some really amazing people here.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, that's what I've come to realize. Like when I started like the I'm from Topeka TikTok series, it's like, oh, you need to go over here and do this. You need to go over here and do this. And I was like, well, there's a lot more things in Topeka that I didn't even realize that I didn't know. And getting with Mike, him writing the song and being the musician, him telling me stories about like, oh, this was here and that was there. And you know what I mean? Because I moved here in 2008. Like some people, like a lot of people actually have been born here, raised here, like Mike himself. You know what I mean? Like it was, Chris.
Born and raised.
So there's a lot of things, and being able to highlight their stories. Like, we have the news, and we have, the newspaper and things like that. But the podcast that really is able to connect the people behind the scenes, and show their stories and where they came from has been like iconic to me. It's huge, and
it's needed.
Yeah.
History is always a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And, having a historic building down here, there were people that would come in and say, oh, tell me about the businesses that were in here. And, I want to learn about as much as I could about in history, what was in the building. And I went back and you look through that and you see like a little article about, oh, they opened, and then, oh, they had something happen, and then, oh, they closed. And then they say, oh, this is the person that owned it. But there's nothing that really showed the personality. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that said, these are people who came up with ideas to serve their community.
Yeah.
And these, businesses that started here that serve the people from here.
Yeah.
And how do we tell their stories? These are really cool people, and how can their stories inspire the next generation of creators?
That's
and
huge.
I think that was something that at the beginning of YouTube, that was one of the things that I saw, like, cause I'm old compared to you guys, but back then it was one of those things that is like YouTube, brand new. Like, we can do some really cool stuff with this. It's not just about making content that the world's going to see and, give me my 30 seconds of whatever. We can actually make something here that stick around, that can actually do some good. That, I still get people coming up and saying they've searched something online and they saw videos popping up from 10 years ago, you know, and they're still, it's still out there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, the things that we do, whether if you just do a standard radio interview or, you're on TV or however, sometimes that content doesn't make it.
Sure.
So having YouTube and being able to tie that in with Google and being able to have that record there, like, I think it's part of history. We're creating history right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely, man. I love that too. Cause like what you're saying is what we do now is setting us up for later too. So I think a lot of those times when YouTube first started and you kind of seeing the power in that, kind of opened up some ideas for you too, just talking with you and where that kind of led. So what led you to really focus on this place here at Cosmos Court?
Cosmos Court. Okay. So we opened in 2002. There was this idea that if you build it, they will come. And it was Field of Greens, so we put it together. There was no salad bar in downtown. And if you do your research, we had the opportunity to open this business in this place. And so we went and did our research and said, what does the neighborhood need? right?
Yeah.
And we realized that there were a lot of people that worked down here. We're talking 2002. So this is going back quite a ways. And if you're looking at what downtown was, and it was the place where nobody expected me to be successful. They thought if I needed to be successful, I need to be out on Wanamaker, I need to be at the mall, I need to be somewhere. That was the mentality back in 2002.
Yeah.
But we wanted to take a chance on downtown because that really is where the heart of the city is. This is where the city started. You can go back to say, what was the whole reason Topeka started? Well, it was a river crossing town, this all started down here at the river, you know? And then it kind of spread and these buildings came. And then, Topeka grew and that's, what it is. But getting back to the roots, this is where the roots are in downtown Topeka. So being a part of that was really cool. And then, for me, I got involved with the community. I got to know my neighbors. I got involved with downtown Topeka Incorporated and just wanted to be a part of it and got involved with those committees. They had the Heartland Visioning Project, which kind of talked to Topeka and found out about what they wanted to see in downtown. You know? And back then there were a lot of people saying it's never going to happen, not going to happen, never going to happen. And it just took, we had to be stubborn.
Yeah.
And we had to say, this is going to happen and we're going to make it happen. And so many people came together to make it happen so that now people are looking at it and saying, yeah, you're smart for being downtown. And I'm like, it wasn't always that way.
If I'd have listened to every one of them doubtful comments every one of them, even in my own head, I would have quit everything. So thank you for not listening to that, pushing forward. And now we're here sitting in Cosmos Court. So
and that was the thing. So we started that and then it grew and it became the break room. And the break room, we brought all kinds of acts and artists together in this building. We bought the building in 2008 and upstairs there's a bunch of empty office suites. And we're like, well, what are we going to do with this? And this was when they were talking about you want to do something with the arts. And so we said, okay, let's have different artists come in. And we were doing the first Friday Art Walk. I remember we started our front window used to have a display from Topeka West. They would come in and every month they would have a display in our front window here and change it out. And so then we were like, well, we have this upstairs area. There's 10 different rooms. We can have 10 different artists coming here. And then you can walk through that. And there's these artist lofts. Yeah. And, some of the influential folks that put Noto together, they came in and they saw what we were doing and they saw that really worked. And then, next thing you know, it's like, you never know when that idea is going to stir something in somebody else's head that's going to cause something else and a chain of events. By saying we're going to take a chance on bringing these artists in to do here, then this kind of spurred something to say, well, what can we do with these buildings in Noto? How can we be a part of all of this and how can we create something even bigger from it? So I got to watch the Noto Arts and Entertainment District be built from the very beginning, and another one of those things where downtown was getting better at that time, but it was a thing that you listen to a lot of the naysayers and they said nothing's going to happen in Noto. Oh, it's not going to work. And I'm like, I heard this story before.
Right.
I've been there.
Same old song and dance.
And now look at it today. We've got things that are coming together. And I think the most important part of all these things is that it's really brought the community together. And it's given people opportunities to come and be creative together and to celebrate their Topeka or the things that they love about Topeka, to grow those things. And then, so we had this, this place. We had a Top City Comedy. I remember they're a big group right now. They started with an idea. They came to me and they said, there's no place to do stand-up comedy. If you're a stand-up comic in town, there's really no place to get on stage. And I said, okay, let's do it. So, and it's a matter of saying yes, they have said, the folks that have done that have said like, oh, you're like so influential in doing this. And I'm like, whoa, you guys did all the work. Facts. I just said yes. And I think that's
it a chance.
That is something that is powerful. That it's not, it is something that just by taking the chance, we don't have to do all the work by ourselves, but by getting the right people at the table and by saying yes and doing that, we make powerful change, and that's where I think, we are sitting here today at Cosmos Court. Cosmos Court is that creation when the pandemic hit. It wiped out, we had I'm at the time the pandemic hit, I'm in Branson and I'm working with illusionist Rick Thomas. We're at the Andy Williams Moon River Theater there. And then we're touring around the country. We have East Coast tour, West Coast tour every year. I did that for about 5 years. And, it's my second family there. I love Branson. I love the people in Branson. They're wonderful. And that opportunity changed my life. And the pandemic hit and, it closed down everything here. We had Field of Greens running. We had the break room running. I was doing this stuff in Branson and that hit. So we closed it all down. And, sitting here, Julie's, they were over there. Their building was condemned and they needed a space to come over and open up while the pandemic was going on. And so we cleared out in a weekend, everything that was the break room, cleared it all out, moved it all over to the other side. And so Field of Greens became Field of Storage Warehouse for equipment, and it was all over there. Julie's came in over here and they, had their staff going. They were so cool to be able to close down one day over there and open up over here the next day. Like that was really important. We wanted to keep the consistency going for the people, not only the customers, the employees. We wanted to keep that ecosystem going, and we did it. And when they did that, it then became a waiting game because we couldn't open anything next door because there wasn't a critical mass of people downtown to be able to do anything with it. So I had to sit back and say, okay, the world might be ending right now, because none of us really knew what was going on, and I'm saying, okay, I can sit around and be sad about that, or I can try and say the world's not going to end; it's going to come back. We're going to need to do things when it's done. We're going to have these answers, and it gave me, at the time I wouldn't have called it this, but it was almost that period of it's like retirement, where. I couldn't really open anything up because I didn't want to, cause problems for our neighbors and they wouldn't be able to last. We had to wait for that critical mass of people. So I was able to take the time to say, I'm going to teach myself how to make robots that build drinks. I'm going to teach myself how to make clouds and hang them in this way. I'm going to build all these things and take these projects day by day. And I'm going to make something that hopefully one day can be really special, that when we are all at the end of all of this and we know that we need to come back together and be human again, that it's going to help us do that. Yeah. And again, not knowing whether we were going to be able to do it or not, or ever be able to open or not. Yeah. And then that day finally came. And I will say, because so many wonderful people in Topeka were supportive. Yeah. They saw what we were doing. I got to take the time, whereas my life was so high pressure, high speed, moving, go to the next thing. And that break gave me the ability not only to find out a lot about myself. I kind of lived like a monk for 3 years, really. Just building projects and doing that internal work on who am I as a person, and struggles, going through depression, up and down, learning all about it. And through that process, I realized that Topeka is home. And for sure. There are more people here that love me than there are anywhere else in the world, and that's from growing up with that. And there's some really wonderful people here who give you the encouragement to keep going. Yep. And here we are, we're sitting here, and we're all in this place right now that we can be really, really, proud about, that I think can bring together many, many different groups in society for us, and be that community celebration center, that food court maker space where, you get to come in and get anything you want, however you want, whenever you want it. Yeah. We wanted to have that flexibility. So that's where Cosmos Court came from. Yeah. We have everything, and we wanted to serve everyone. It's genius. It really is. Yeah, it really is genius. I know. For sure it is. It's one of our favorite pizza spots for sure. My son, my wife, and myself were always like, we're gonna go down to Cosmos and get a pizza. You know what I mean? Just because it's made fresh. Like, it's literally made fresh right then and there. Pizza was another thing. Like, we had to go and figure out how to make pizza. Yeah. We didn't want to go get a product that was already done. We had to go learn how to do it. And we tried so many different samples of all types of things. And it was, the idea of saying, we want something that is craveable, that people will want, their entire family would like. Yeah. It's not out there, we wanted to be fast. We wanted to be awesome. And we went through so many different recipes, so many different sauces, so many different crusts, so many different cheeses, just to find the right blend of doing that, so that we had something that was uniquely Cosmos Court.
For sure.
And we did it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And it like I said, it's amazing. The pizza, just the vibe in there in general. You being able to come in and get anything, the cookies. It's a really, really dope vibe. But as you've created Cosmos Court, you've also created other things before Cosmos Court. Let's talk about Topeka.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a lot of people that didn't realize like we created I'm From Topeka podcast, but you were doing Talk About Topeka years ago. Like I was literally watching some interviews yesterday and a little bit into today. You have videos on there from 9 years ago. Of you interviewing people, city councilmen, people in the community with different business and things. But talk about that. Like, what gave you that visionary idea to say, you know what, YouTube's just now starting. I want to get on and I want to interview people in Topeka. I want to talk to Topeka. I want to talk about Topeka.
Yeah.
What gave you that vision? What led that?
It really, my getting involved. Well, YouTube being an opportunity. It was a thing that gave us this ability to talk to people. And they didn't have to be sitting in the room at the same time with us. They could watch it whenever they wanted to. Yeah. That was a game changer for content creators, right? For sure. And it gave some kids sitting in a restaurant the ability to go out and create content where it didn't have to go through anyone else. And I was like, this is just a really cool thing. And in doing all this, I was friends with Jim Ogle, who was the general manager of WIBW television at the time.
Okay.
And I had talked to him. He was a great customer of ours at the store, very supportive of local businesses. And, he had come in and I said, I have this idea and I want to make this stuff, this content for the community because I'm involved in history and I bought this historic building and I wanted to find out about all these people that had something to do with it. I know that the Chocolate Shop restaurant was in this building. And I know that the name of the people who owned it were the Parkinson family, but I knew nothing about them. And I said, I want to know that now that we have these tools to document the history that's a little bit deeper, that shows who people actually are and gives us that ability to express that. I want to be able to tell that story. I want to be able to do all of that. Yeah. And he said to me, he goes, I like it. And he goes, would you want to put it on TV? Because my thought was, I just want your opinion. Yeah. This is your business. Like, this stuff. You can tell me what to do with this, and I was not expecting him to say, do you want to put it on the air? I'm like, I was just hoping to maybe get a few views on YouTube. Maybe, like, do this. Right. This is okay. Okay. Right, and he said, here's the thing. He goes, don't make it look like anything that we do, make it look uniquely like what you do and make it something that you think would be a really good bit for that. And I said, okay. So we created, and he said, but let me tell you this first thing. And I'll tell you guys the same thing. He said, the first time you make one of these episodes, he goes, it's going to be awesome. You're going to be on this energy high. It's going to be great. And the second time, it's going to feel wonderful too. And the third time, you're going to realize that it's work. And then the fourth time, you're going to say, yeah, this might have been something. And, he's like, I'm going to tell you that off the stuff. He goes, if you can get past your fourth episode, then you have the ability to have some staying power and some longevity with this. Yeah. And I said, okay. So then, count them all up, we made it a long time. It went from there. We were on WIBW. We did a half an hour television show every week. We were also putting it all on YouTube. And at the same time, we went and we expanded and we did an hour-long drive time talk radio show, Talk About Topeka on Cumulus Radio. So we were doing like all this stuff. The community came together and supported this idea. And that is something that without that support, we wouldn't have kept going. We couldn't have kept doing it. So it's important for me when I see what you guys are doing to be able to be a part of that energy to say, look, these guys in this community, they took a chance on me. They mentored me into the ability to be able to take these chances. And, that's what I want to repay. Yeah. I feel like those making it to literally the summit in my life so many times. I've been there more times than I can count. to be able to make it all the way to the top. And when you get up there, you realize that it's really lonely up there.
It is.
Because there are so many people who will never make it up there. And once you've made it there so many times and you realize I can keep doing this, then you kind of say, you know what? Like, that's not as fulfilling as being able to look at, say, I'm not the kind of guy who pulls the ladder up behind me. Yeah. I want to be the kind of person who goes back and says, you know,
hand down. And
the people who looked out for me, I want to be that guy who can look out for other people too.
Yeah. That's real.
And help that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really important. And that's why, you know, when I see what you guys are doing here, I say, I want to be my resources are your resources. You know,
and you've done that.
You
like
have,
we're sitting here. You've, you know, we had our first I'm from Topeka music video release. We had that here, so that was amazing, man. That was and
that video. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure everybody watching this has seen it. But if you have not watched that video, that was bravo, man.
Thank you.
Bravo.
I mean, and we got together, man. Like, and that's the great thing is I've been working on music for so long. That's my number one. That's my calling. That's my path. And then, you know, I saw what Tevin was kind of doing with the I'm from Topeka things. And it's like, I've been trying to change my whole mindset on that as well as just like who's right here in our community. You know, I'm always thinking about, let me look out and see what shows I can do. Let me get a ride let me set some up for Vegas or try to get out to Florida. But it's like, man, let's just try to get something building right here, you know, because we really need that, you know. Yes. A lot of these blossoming cities, they have those places. They have places for spoken word. They have places for music, very specific places. So, I mean, just linking up with Tevin, I think it was a God-given thing. And then, you know, people showed up too, though. Like you're saying, you know, showing up, saying yes. Like 60-some people showed up.
That's a thing.
Be a part of that.
You know, we should, in our lives, try to be the presumptive yes, you know, like we really should. When someone brings something to us, we should really, instead of that, you know, there's so many people that say it's not going to work, or they take the frustrations that they've had out in their life and say, oh, because it didn't work for me, it's not going to work for you. Or because this was really hard for me, it's going to be hard for you. Yeah, it's probably going to be hard because nothing worthwhile is really easy.
Yes.
But being the presumptive yes to say, I believe in what you're doing and I want to see that successful. I'll take that chance. I'll take that chance, you know, as many times as I can, you know.
Appreciate
for
that.
sure. Yeah, we do.
Felt. Yeah, it's definitely felt. Even, you know, Mr. Ogle telling you that, you know, after episode 4, you know, it's going to feel like work. I just want to let you know you're episode 5 for us. So let's go. It's right. We're right
we made
there.
It.
Right
we're sitting in Cosmos Court for number 5. So.
It's crazy how, you know, like that all kind of intertwined.
That was the gate. You had to make it past 4. And then, now you're going to do it.
Now we're going. Now
you're in it for a decade at least now.
Oh, we got to be. We got to be. And that's the thing. That's the thing with, I think, anything you starting is the hardest thing. We all know that. Getting started, it takes a lot of, and then even with music, like when I first started putting stuff out, that was so scary to me years ago. I was like, let me just start putting myself out there. I had my oldest iPhone and I was just sitting in McDonald's drive-thru and I started just singing to the camera. I was like, man, I got to let this out now. You know, and that's how I started doing it. And then I realized like you feel that out and it's not just, it's such a mental thing you go through too of like, you worry about it. Like, is people what if they don't say anything? You know, do I keep going? You know, you make it to that 2nd, 3rd, 4th, like you said, and sometimes you're still like, I'm kind of seeing something, but I'm still not, you know? So you got to pull. So when I'm talking about that, where do you pull that, keep going from when you hit those points, you know, during COVID, or you hit those give up points where everything looks like it's not going to work. Where did you pull that motivation? I got to say,
I spent about a year in a really, really dark place. You know, I say, exploring the things in my life that, you know, just looking everything in the face and making your struggles your friends. You know, if you can do that, if you can say the things that you want to look away from, if you can actually say, I've looked them straight in the face and I have turned them into my allies now. You know, and it took me a year of living in a really, really dark place. I wasn't sure I was going to make it out of there. You know, I didn't know what was going to happen. You know, everything that I was, suddenly I was always at the top, at the summit, and everything that I was non-essential. You know, so like that was devastating. And it was not just for me, for everybody who was going through that, but on a personal level with me, like
Like you were at the peak of like what was going to be a prime moment. That's got to be crazy. And then the next day, everything is like, nope, everything's shut down.
Gone. And
like,
that is a reminder to all of us that anything can happen to anybody.
Drop of a dime too.
And when you see somebody out there and they're homeless on the street, and they've had some really tough things happen to them in their lives, and you look at that, I think because of the experience of living through that, I'm looking at that saying, what happened to them in their life, and how can I be a little bit more understanding that literally that could be me.
Yeah, it can happen.
That could be anybody, any one of us, anytime.
Yeah,
just one circumstance, one situation away from being there. And when you do that, you start treating people a little bit more humanly.
Yeah, and when you have that, like, got to give other people grace. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's the biggest thing too, is like understanding and realizing that, like you said, at any moment, like it can be, like I got diagnosed with bipolar 2, and I've seen people, walking around, and usually people would be like, "Oh, look at that person! They're walking around, they're talking to themselves and things like that." I passed by somebody the other day, probably about a month ago, and it hit me. Like, it was like, you never know. It could have been one phone call that sent them over the edge. It could have been one bill that they're like, "This is it. Like, I can't do it no more. Now I'm living on the streets." And then that living on the streets turns to, now I dabbled in this, and now I dabbled in that. So giving other people grace is huge.
Yeah.
And people, a lot more people have to understand that.
Yeah.
It's needed. Like just that understanding, instead of hitting them with the judgment first, or being like, "Oh, like, what do you do?" It's like, man, like, or they just came back, or they fought for our country, and they came back, and they're just trying to literally survive through what they went through,
Even
there's
in
a lot of that.
Our community, Topeka, like we Minigers, like that shut down.
That's
like
what
what happened to all the resources that came from that? Yeah, we have Vallejo and things like that. Yeah, we have the VA, but like what happened to the other people that haven't been served? So
like it's those questions you said. Like there's a lot of things that like it just like what happened. There's no answers for these things. And some of these things are like we needed this. People need this. So it's amazing to me that we, like, this is our 5th episode, and everything I've taken up to this point is the pivot point through COVID. Every one of us hit a point of almost give up, including me. I was trying to finish Full Sail University online. It was already hard. And then when the pandemic hit, it just seemed like I was just trying to wait on emails, and I was stuck on projects, and I was like, man, I'm just going to like take 3 months off. Like I got to figure out what's going on in the world. Like, it doesn't even matter any, like, so I know what you mean when you start questioning everything. And man, but what we didn't do is we didn't quit,
That's right.
And the fact that we didn't has brought us to this point, all of us together too. And that's what just is powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody's the same person they were before March 13th, 2020.
No way.
Oh no.
If they say they are, it can't be. It's got to be false. It affected every human.
Either that, or they're just so shallow they didn't learn anything.
Yeah, their ego's big. Yeah. Like their ego's big. Oh, I'm the same. No.
That's the one thing that I think that there's a lot of craziness in the world right now. From just unprecedented things we haven't seen before, to politics, to just crazy in the world right now that's happening. And we all saw that, and that crazy all happened to all of us all at the same time. And that I can't think in my life of any other time where that's really hit so many people so deeply all at the same time. And the lesson that we can learn, the strength or the power that I think we can draw from that is that we all have this collective ability to grow together. And, it's amazing to me that there are people that still, from things that happened 20 years ago, something that, they still hold grudges for in their mind because they haven't been able to go through and process what it is or what happened, or even understand that they have changed in 20 years. The people they're holding grudges against have changed in 20 years. And, they really have to sit back and ask themselves, wait, I'm holding a grudge for something 20 years ago. Maybe I'm the problem.
Yeah.
That's tough.
A lot of people can't look themselves in the mirror.
It's really hard to say that to people.
And that's true. That's true growth. And holding a grudge is like, I heard this from someone one time. It hit so hard, but like holding a grudge is like you drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick.
Exactly.
You're poisoning yourself.
Ooh.
Like unforgiveness is bitterness, and it's poison to your spirit, your physical, your mental, and it affects everything.
I'll tell you this: there are things that people in my life have done to me that I hated. I just it didn't feel good. It was awful. And to me, to look at that and say, my strength has been to try and go through in that time that I had and say, how can I understand where they were? How can I forgive and process forward and move past that? And how can I make something good come from that? How can I learn from this? How can something good come from that? And just by doing that, it makes tremendous changes in one's life. And it really does say, I can look back and say, these things that happened to me, if that didn't happen to me, then this would have happened to me. And that would have been way worse than this. So I'm looking back here and I'm saying, yeah, that really hurt at the time.
Yeah.
But because this happened this way, this happened.
Man.
Yep. It opens up the butterfly effect.
Yeah. I don't know. None of us know what the action that is happening to us today. None of us know what that is actually, why that's happening.
Yeah.
If we believe that there's a whole pattern to the world or to our existence, then we have to trust in that.
Yeah.
If we don't believe that, that's really hard to grasp onto the concept too, there is. But I can say that the things that I've been the most upset about in my life, for some reason, usually, and this is how I get through the things that happen that are tough today, is that I look back and say, these things brought something to me that would not have been here had I not gone through that, had I not struggled to learn it, had I not, learned that lesson so that I could, help somebody else learn it or help somebody else get over something or do whatever, or just so that, it put me in this place over here so that I wasn't in that place over there that got completely destroyed because of the,
That's how I look at it, is like with COVID, I was down in Texas. If COVID wouldn't have happened, I probably feel like I would still be down in Texas doing training, trying to get something off the ground as far as like running my own gym and just kind of like mentally stressing out. And then moved back here. COVID happened. Ran my gyms here, and I felt like I was like, all right, here's your gyms. Like, here's what I'm trying to show you. You could do the gyms. Like, you could do your thing. But then you didn't realize that you had bipolar 2. So like, yeah, you're gonna do your thing for a little while, but now watch this. And then when I found out I had bipolar 2, I was like, man, I really need to stop focusing on making everything about everybody else and really take a second to sit back and be still and figure out who I am. And that happened for a reason. That happened to, if I would have still been trying to chase the gym, still been trying to build a, a gym brand and a gym business, then this wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? As hard as it was for me to finally sit down and be like, all right, I gotta close the gyms down. All right, I gotta really restructure and really figure out what I need to do and who I really am. I was tying myself so much to being an athlete. I got to live this healthy lifestyle as far as like, I got to make sure I work out every day as hard as I can, 100%. Like, not because I'm playing a certain sport, but because it's like, I'm an athlete. I need to do that. And I can still be an athlete and understand that I have to give myself grace. And like, I also have to be a father. I also have to be a husband. You know what I mean? It's not only about me. It's about other people and the people around me.
And all of those lessons helped you be a better father, a better husband, everything that you've learned from that you wouldn't have learned had you not been pushed to learn it, and then you'd be asking yourself these questions. Why does all this stuff keep happening to me? I don't know.
You gotta take a look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Right.
And like you mentioned earlier, but we don't have to be, we got to be conscious of these things when we're going through them, because you don't have to be. You can just be like, oh man, it's another storm. Like, let me just hit the bottle. Let me get through this.
It's much easier. Yeah,
it is. And then if you can make sense of it when that next thing's coming, you've built your faith up a little more. You're a little bit stronger, and you kind of can recognize like, oh, this is coming. So I gotta pivot. I gotta maneuver through it this way.
Yeah.
But man, I'm just thankful that we all did persevere, because we're sitting here again talking, and I do believe in life patterns, man. I'm a firm believer in God myself, and I just believe that He connects us up with people that are on the same path, at times, and that's what this has kind of felt like. Is we're connecting with a lot of people that have been pushing hard for something for some years, really chasing a dream, and they're continuing to do that, through the hard times, because we all know that like this does get tough. What we're trying to do, like you said, you kind of cavemanned it and put your head to the grindstone though, and really during COVID, started developing the whole plan though. You know, you took that time and was like, this is what I'm going to do. You found out a pizza recipe. I got the rest of the pizza back here. I'm about to start eating it. Like it's getting cold, but man, it's so good.
It is
the
good.
Pizza here is so good. That dough. Like, and I'm not just saying I've had a lot of pizza, so this pizza hits. But yeah, you took that time though, man, and how does that feel? Like, cause I know as an artist, when I envision something, especially like a whole song, a music video, and it comes to life, I've cried tears over something like that because it's such an amazing, powerful feeling when the vision comes to life like that. How does that feel to like have everything kind of on all cylinders starting to hit?
So before it comes to life, it's grueling. Like it is.
Talk about
you're like, why am I doing this? Why do I keep doing this to myself?
It's such a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It feels like insanity.
Yeah. And people say, don't give up, don't give up. And I say, don't give up, don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up, you know, because it will get there, you know. If you give up, you know exactly what you got, you know exactly where it stops.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
But you don't know where tomorrow is going to come by not giving up.
Yeah.
And, you know, never know who's going to show up. You never know what's going to happen. Literally anything. Just like we talked about things that can happen that could leave somebody on the street. There are things that could leave you in a big mansion somewhere. You know, there are things that could, again, one little thing that can happen in your life.
One
That's
loss,
all it takes.
one anything.
One person, one thing, one tiny incident, you know, a fly lands on some butterfly effect, you know, whatever, you know, whatever.
Butterfly,
yeah, exactly.
It changes everything.
Exactly.
You know, and a lot of people don't know that, you know, a lot of people don't connect that, you know, if you just keep pushing through, you know, JQ, we had him on the previous podcast, and he was talking about, you know, like a lot of the times it's like when we let go, a lot of people think that it's letting go and like, oh, it's gone, you know, or like it's gone. But a lot of people understand like sometimes you have to let go a little bit in order to get that to that next point. You know
it's
what I mean?
never gone though.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the thing. It's never gone. Everything you've gone through is never gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Yeah. Everything you've gone through is never gone.
Yeah. It's somewhere. It's sticking somewhere. It's either in your memory. It's somewhere.
It might not even be
just
in
gone.
your memory. It might be in somebody else's memory.
Yeah,
that might be the thing.
It happened.
Yeah, like with Mike. You know, Mike was like, bro, like I've seen his story, like I've seen his journey. You know, and it was just like every time we link up, it'd be like, I still see you doing music, man. Like he'd be like, hey, I still see you doing videos, and your videos are taking off. He was with me, and like, a lot of people don't understand that I was vlogging. It's almost been about 8-9 years ago. Like it's been a long time.
He was vlogging. I was dropping little covers on every platform. And we were just doing our thing. And like you said, we'd meet up. I'd see him at the gym and they'd be like, man, we like ran into this, but we're working this out. This happened, but we're working this out. The business is growing. Like,
and it was never gone. Like, you're not doing just covers no more. You know what I mean? You're not just dropping covers.
I'm not
vlogging like I used to vlog no more.
It's everything's developed.
It's development. So
that's
right.
That's it.
That's right.
Everything's still there. It's amazing to me that, you know, people will come up to me and remember things from 10 years ago that is long gone from my memory. You know, things that happens completely gone. But then I realize, and they'll say, you know, because this happened, that happened for me, and this happened for me, and this happened for me. And it all came from the fact that you helped me with this.
Yeah.
You got me out there so that so-and-so could figure out who I was. And and I'm like,
like
mind blown. Mind blown. I didn't even realize.
And just that right there, you saying that, imagine like, you know, we're in COVID, we're quarantined, we're away from each other. That's detrimental for like what you're talking about. Like because when we're not around each other, those things aren't happening. We're searching on social media then, which is fine. But like you're eating everything at that point, and it's not like sitting together having direct conversation. It's not. So everything is chaotic at that point, and it put everybody in that chaotic, I think, mindset. Yeah. So that's important.
There were people who were, you know, single and living by themselves during COVID, and I don't know that they can ever understand what it's like for a family of 3. You know, if you had, you know, dad to 3 kids, you got your wife at home, you're just doing all this, and you were stuck with them all the time. And you got all their problems to worry about. So then it's like, you know, you got to be strong there in a million different ways. You know, over here, you got to be strong because you just don't have anybody else to lean on, or there's no reason to say, you know, I'm doing this for my kids. I'm doing this because, you know, I made somebody a promise, or I did. If you don't have that, like, some people would have been like, yeah, I'd love to have this free time. But what's easier? You know? Just like when they say when someone passes away, it's like, did they go quick, or did you know about it, or did they just go now?
Yeah.
Which one's easier? I'm like, none of them's easy.
Yeah.
None of it's easy.
Yeah.
You either have to watch somebody lose everything, or you got to, deal with the fact that you thought they were going to be there for everything and they're gone, and you got to adjust. Like, there's nothing easy about either one of those ways. So, we always look at that, and it's important to, I think the older we get, the more we do, the more things that happen to us, even the bad stuff, got to look for the sweet and the sour, and because it does come around.
It does.
For sure.
It's how you embrace it.
For sure.
You
got to know how to celebrate highs and lows.
Yes.
That's important, man. Like my old sales manager, man, Genesis Health Club, I used to do sales there, but that's what he told me. And that always stuck, is like, you really got to know how to celebrate the wins too, though. Like, it's just as important as the losses. Both of them are just as important. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you talked about earlier, like, with a lot of people, not being in COVID and not being able to get together. You kind of changed that here at like Cosmos Court. We conversations outside the podcast, you've talked about you want it to be like it's a community center.
Yes.
So explain a little bit more about that.
When people say, what is it? It's a community center. That was the thing that I realized, that our connection was gone, and we didn't. It's the part that I saw that people were having so much trouble doing, that came somewhat naturally before the pandemic. We would go out, we would hang out with friends, we'd do whatever, but then suddenly it became more of a chore. Yeah. And we kind of lost sight in how to do that. And humans are pack animals. We're meant to exist with each other. We're not meant to be isolated. And no one, is an island. You can't get anywhere on your own in this world. It takes a village. And that was really important to me, that for this village in Topeka, we had a place that spoke to many different people, many different interests, bringing them together and making it really easy for them to be social with each other. Yeah. And making it so that they would have fun together. It's not like with Cosmos Court being the community center. If you look at a community center, it's not a bar, it's not a nightclub, it's not a church, it's a place where people come together with common interests. And that's what we wanted to do. Different times of the days, looking at our schedule, look at our weekend entertainment schedule. You've got, we do Top City Comedies Fridays. So we brought a comedy club into downtown Topeka. Every Friday night, you're going to have comics. There are touring comics mixed with local comics. Yeah. That's every Friday night. You got something. You want to go to a comedy show? You can come to Cosmos Court every Friday night. 8 o'clock starts here. You want to do karaoke? You want to go to a place after you go see a show or a movie or something? You're not quite ready to go home. Everything's closing at 9 o'clock, and you've gone to IHOP so many times. It's just I do it myself. I like IHOP, but I'll tell you, like it's
trying to run that late night Marvin Gaye. Right?
I'm a night owl, I am.
Creative, that karaoke at Cosmos.
Yeah.
Baby.
So, Friday night you can come out. We have a karaoke bar in downtown Topeka. So, Friday nights, right after that comedy show, usually 9:30, 10 o'clock, you can be here till 1 o'clock doing that. And you can get pizza up until 1 o'clock doing that. Yeah. So let's say you went out to a show after work, you didn't get time to have dinner, but you want to go out and you're like, I like karaoke and I want to have some pizza. Great. Come on out here. You can do that on Friday nights. Yeah. Saturday nights, we're bringing people together with music videos. We have a dance floor. We have all this stuff here so that we know that if you like that type of entertainment, we've got it for you. You
got the laser show.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It's really sweet.
Whole DJ setup. My man's a DJ too. Don't be shy on that. He's
a DJ. Yeah.
He's on that turntable. He knows what he's doing. So
it was fun. That's always been about bringing people together.
Oh yeah.
And just bringing entertainment and joy to people's lives. Yeah. We need more of that.
Yeah. Not to go back or anything like that, but just so people have a little bit deeper history of you. Like I said, you're always behind the scenes,
Man behind the curtain.
Yeah, that's you, man. But let people know, like, you do DJ. You were also one of the first people in Kansas to bring the video
in the Midwest.
In the Midwest,
actually,
okay.
the closest one. I bought this thing here. We were the first ones. I think the closest one was Chicago.
Okay.
That had it, and it was right about the same time we got it here. And it was all about at the time with music videos. I wanted to be able to like mix them like a DJ would, where you didn't have to do all the work in advance and you're just playing something. But I wanted to be able to say, I'm going to mix this track in and this track in, and I want it to be a seamless mix that takes that. So the very first DVD mixer where you could control the pitch, you could control all of the things, and I had one of those. And we brought that into Topeka, and Topeka, next to Chicago in the Midwest, was the only place doing like mixed music videos, live mixed music videos.
And shout out Top City for that. So
another
quality.
Absolutely.
Even know that.
When we had our club back in College Hill at that time. It was called Club Cosmos. It was 2002 to 2005, and this was at that time. And we as soon as we closed that bar, we closed it because they were doing the College Hill redevelopment plan. So we came over here and opened up the break room. But as soon as they closed the bar, I was getting calls from Lawrence, and I was the resident DJ for Granada and Lawrence.
Let's go.
We got calls for Kansas City. We brought this kind of technology to Kansas City.
Yeah.
How often does that happen?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't know.
Feather in the cap for Topeka, at least, because Topeka supported us to be able to go out and invest in the things. We were able to create something that was able to be introduced in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And I don't think Topekans really give themselves much credit for the ability that that's possible.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so much greatness that comes from here, and it's influential throughout the whole United States. A lot of people don't realize it. I mean, we overlook, as Topekans, a lot of time, we overlook Brown versus Board.
Yeah.
Like we overlook a lot of the things that, like, Aaron Douglas, a lot of those things, like we overlook that these people had roots here. Like it started here.
Right.
And just for that, like for a lot of people, I was like, oh, like you should go to Kansas City, you should go to, Lawrence and things like that. Like shout out to Kansas City, shout out to Lawrence, but you took that from Topeka. Like that is Topeka. Yeah. Like it is Topeka proud, like to 100%.
Yeah.
And that's very, very futuristic, I guess, putting it that way. Very futuristic for you to be able to do that back in that time. But also, we're in Cosmos Court, but you bought the building. Now, you showed me and Mike, and you told me and Mike about the history of the building. But as you're just driving down through downtown Topeka, there's so much history in the buildings alone. Tell us a little bit about that, because we got a little snippet of it, but let the people know like the history behind the building that you bought. There's a lot of history.
Yeah. So the Tinkham Veal building is named after a guy named Tinkham Veal. One of those prominent things that he was a city attorney. His family was very well connected with Topeka. General George Veal, I believe it was his grandfather. They had the first home with electricity in the state. And it was where City Hall is built now. Wow. And it was all about bringing people together. Presidents who passed through Kansas stopped at that house. That was very, it's a big thing. It was a big thing, and they built, and that's why, if you read up on the history of City Hall and the Topeka Performing Arts Center, you realize that was where it was. And so his family then comes over here, Tinkham Veal, and buys a couple of buildings on this strip, puts it all together, builds this thing. And I think he's like one of the first early mall developers. If you really look at like what that is, this place, there was a restaurant in the basement. There was a barbershop in the basement. There was a feed and grain store here. There was a bookstore here. There was a drugstore here. Upstairs, there was doctors and lawyers, and there was a beauty college up there, like all in this building. And people don't realize that there were so many different businesses and different entities and people that used to run their businesses out of here. Tinkham Veal was involved with the architects and the people who put together the Country Club Plaza in Kansas City.
Wow.
The lots for the Westboro neighborhood were sold out of this building. Wow. So, and when you think about that, the people who came here, and then they built Westboro Mart over there.
Yeah.
And that was a later development. So you kind of see the same type of thing where it was done in this building, but expanded to that whole block of saying, I'm going to take that. We're going to take some of this knowledge that we're putting into the Country Club Plaza, and we're going to take some of this, we're going to put it all together and create these things for Topeka. And it takes somebody, a visionary, to see those things and to say that we deserve to have them here. We need to have them here, and we can develop these things here.
Yeah.
And that, this building's on the National Register of Historic Places for his contributions to our community and just to society in general. So that's a big thing that I take very seriously with this. We just did a renovation on the building. We put a new roof on it. You're talking new roof, new electrical, all the really expensive stuff that you don't see. So the stuff that I put in here and that you see, the projects that I was working on during the pandemic, you see all of that. But what you don't see is that there is a new roof on this historic asset. That this does not belong to me. I believe I am a caretaker. Really,
you take that serious, and I love that. Like you're trying to keep that history. Like you're trying to. It's now kind of been passed down. And you're like, I'm going to do my best to carry this.
Absolutely,
passing it forward.
And we've seen that. Like you've taken us through the building and things like that. We haven't been to the roof. I was going to ask you.
I'll take you up there sometime.
Perfect. That would be just to see downtown.
So I'm looking at. I'm watching Channel 13, and if you watch the weather forecasts on there, they have the view from the Cyrus Hotel camera. Most exciting thing to me is right after the roof was done, I looked down and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's Jeremy Goodwin. And there's my roof.
Shout out Jeremy Goodwin too.
Shout out Jeremy
I love
Goodwin. Yeah, good people. That's awesome.
But my roof is on the news.
There you go.
Regularly. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, just to see that, you know what I mean? And taking pride in that too, taking pride in, such a historical building. Most people, I think now in the generation that we're in the world that we're in today, like a lot of people overlook history so much because it's like so many things are coming out. Like, instant gratification. It's just constantly new things.
There's so much info.
Yeah, like understanding where you're from.
Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah,
and at the same time, what's really crazy about history right now is that we've never been in this period of accelerated growth that, say, the internet has brought to us, or all of this electronic media that has totally changed the world. It's never changed it as fast as it has right now.
Wow.
There really hasn't been a thing that has changed. There have been things that have come together. But I grew up in an analog world, and then it became digital. And I think growth for that was pretty steady and stable. But right now we're living in this thing where the next technological advance could literally upset everything. And,
and that's scary. That definitely is scary. Wow. But one thing that going back to the building and things is when you took us through your living room, that is not your typical living room, but the way you have it is so sweet to see.
Thank you. So my living room was formerly the Chocolate Shop restaurant, and that was the most premier restaurant in Topeka. I mean, it was for many, many years. You talk about going back to the 40s, this type of time period. And you're talking about how you can look up that history and you can realize that there's an article out there that talks about how Amelia Earhart was coming to Topeka and she's rolling down in her motorcade and she's now getting out at the Chocolate Shop restaurant with one other lady, and they're going in there and they just had something and they're opening up and it's one of her favorite places. And you're like, my living room was one of Amelia Earhart's favorite places.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
That is,
that's awesome.
And when you look at that and you're saying, like, there's some furniture that was in this room from then that's still there. So this bench over here, Amelia Earhart might have sat on that.
Yeah.
This is furniture that we shared with Amelia Earhart.
Yeah. And then the floor, like the floors, the banisters, like you could see, like when you first took us through there, I was getting goosebumps when you're telling us, like it was literally a history tour, like going through
like
as you explained
it. It was like a museum piece.
Yeah, it was just like getting the goosebumps, thinking like, oh, Amelia Earhart, you see her about, you hear about her and you read about her and things like that, but seeing like she could walk the same path, the same floor that we're walking right now, and
she was here.
Much history is here, and it's mind-boggling for sure.
Yeah, it really is, and it is. There are terrazzo floors. If you look at, as I mentioned, City Hall. you can see a lot of the same construction here that was over there because a lot of the same people did this stuff, and a lot at that time period was the same type of, construction, many of the same contractors. I'm sure some of the masons who put some of these, terrazzo floors together over there are the same people who did it here. It's not like there's a whole bunch of people back then that specialized in doing this type of thing. Like, to realize that like there's so much history with the city, and that in order to build something like this right now, construction and what we've been doing in society is saying, we're going to build this structure so this business can operate. And as long as we get 20 years out of it, we'll tear it down and build another one. We'll build another Taco Bell in the parking lot of the other Taco Bell as soon as this Taco Bell falls apart. That's what we do. And so going back here and realizing this building's, well over 100 years old, and that it's in this great of shape. The floors in this room right here, these wood floors, these are specific to feed and grain stores. There was a guy that came in here who knew the history of floors. Now it's a wood floor, right?
Yeah.
But this guy knew what kind of wood it was. He knew what it was. And he said, this would be impossible to put in today. And then you go through the rest of the building and you go to the other side and you realize this terrazzo floor, like this isn't a tile. This isn't something. So these were people who came in here and they worked in this building for years to put this stuff in. Like this stuff took a long time and they did it right. And you think about that, and that's why I think it's so important to remember the history, because they built this stuff to be a gift to the future and a gift to future generations.
They built it to last.
They knew they were like, this is gonna be.
This was built for us today. It was not built so they could tear it apart in 20 years. And that's a mentality that we have to preserve.
It is. I love that mentality, and I'm trying to build my music career like that with that mentality. And then because it's not instant gratification, it's not shortcuts, it's none of that involved in that. And like you said, they took the time on the floor. These days, we're trying to like, what's the quickest way we can just get this thrown up, put together so we can go to the next thing, get that project done, go to the next. So it's just, we don't take the time like that no more, huh? Like we really don't.
They really did want to leave something nicer for their kids. And I think, every generation says, oh yeah, I want to leave the place nicer than I found it. And many of them just don't really live up to it.
Yeah, true.
A lot of people say it, but I think, the ones that say it and actually mean it, they really do some special things. And, once they're gone, we need to remember them. We need to remember that they did take that little bit of extra something. They did. Would my life be a lot easier if I was just living it for myself and I could just go, go to a beach or whatever and not have to come in and worry about making pizzas? There are much more glamorous things I could be doing with my time if I really was into myself that much. But to me, it has been about a community that has served me to learn so much about myself. And now I want to serve this community, and a lifetime of community service. We forget, like, you don't open a place that serves pizza to get rich. It's a service. It's a service to the community. You don't open a community center that brings people together to get rich. You're not gonna get rich that way. This is about being useful and building something that is sustainable, building something long-term. I wanted to create something that can outlive me. How many people really think about that? I hope that my example can encourage more people to think like that. I certainly know my example exists because people did think like that. I'm not saying I'm the only one. I'm certainly not. I was inspired by that, and I want to be inspiring to others for that.
For sure.
We're on the same page. I'm on the same page with you on that. So is there anything new that you foresee? Like, so we're getting Cosmos Courts up and running. Do you have like a goal in the next couple years? Anything you're gonna add, or are you just gonna kind of like kick this off? What you're doing now on the Fridays with the comedy shows, and then just working with people maybe on events? Is there something that, I mean, unless you can't talk about it, is there anything else you kind of foresee?
So I'll say we have the plan when this thing began. It was about 4 years ago. When you think about the beginnings of Cosmos Court and what it was going to be. It was, before we ever started doing any construction, it was a 5-phase plan. We're in phase 2 right now. Wow. So there's 3 more phases. And I can say the first phase was we wanted to do food. And the food you have to do right. People have to love it. They want to love it. They have to crave it.
You nailed it.
And you got to give them with that. Thank you. Thank you.
Have.
And the next one was about bringing people together. Phase 2 was about bringing people together and having the space. So we're sitting in that space right now, on the stage in this space. And now it's about growing events and growing things that people, I don't want to give away phase 3, 4, and 5 because people look at that, and it took me a while to realize that they were only doing what they knew how to do, and that they didn't have the worldly experience to go out and see other things and put them all together. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't want anybody to come in and try and take phase 3, 4, and 5 and water it down so I can't give people the most magic. I don't want to show behind the curtain.
Yeah,
right
you can never reveal.
Exactly. I'm not going to show you how the magic trick's done, especially before you've seen the magic trick, you know?
Right. Like, you're not going to give me this pizza recipe. Of course you're not doing that.
That's not why we make magic. Sense. We don't make magic to make it cheap. You know, we make magic to make something that is, impactful.
And to make people think like, what? How do they do it? Because there's a sense of like, I want to know more with the illusion.
Yes, really there is. Yeah. And then there are a lot of other people around who are struggling, and they're going to grasp at every straw they can to try and survive. And I can't blame them.
Yeah.
I could be upset that it might have watered down something that I was trying to do, or whatever, and that could be upsetting. But I can't blame them. Mm-hmm. I want to be an inspiration to them, but I want to make the most magic too. Mm-hmm. And that's important. We really need to believe in the magic again, because the magic is there. And I don't think that it's ever been at a point in time where widespread that the world doesn't notice it or believe in magic as much as they used to anymore. Yeah. And that's frustrating to somebody who toured the world making helicopters appear and stuff. But like it is necessary, and I'm not going to give up on it because a lot of people don't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. We have to change that, and we have to go back. The pendulum has to swing back the other way on this. And so the growth level to get to phase 3, 4, and 5 is completely contingent upon the amount of support that the community shows to us and how ready they are to move to the next level. Yeah. Because we can only move to the next level when they're ready to support the next level.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. Amen. I love that plan though.
We got a long-term game. We're not trying to pay next month's bills yet. Everybody's trying to pay next month.
For sure.
Everybody's trying to do that. But we're not saying, we're taking the time to do it right. And we took a lot of time to get to this point. This is, like I said, we wanted to do pizza. We wanted to do events. We wanted to do all this stuff 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And we took the time. We did it right. We waited for the right moment. And I think that people have to be really strategic when they have dreams that they want to manifest.
Oh, for sure.
They have to be strategic in those moves. And then people will recognize it.
For sure.
The amount of support that's come in from the food part and now the entertainment part is just, it's overwhelming. Yeah. When people walk in and they see the magic, that is, we have people that come in and, for the club night or, to see the comedy shows, and they've come in and they didn't even realize, because they're entering through a different door. Mm-hmm. They didn't even realize that they were sitting in the place that they had coffee in earlier that week, because it was a different place. It was lit differently. It looked differently.
This
the
place
furniture
is
was in different
magical, though. You took us to a secret bookcase that took us to your living room. I mean, this place is awesome.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, I think that's what happened. I don't even know.
Walked through walls somewhere at some point. Like, it was crazy. But no, man, that's really good. Like, as we kind of wrap up, I think that's an amazing feat to look towards in the future.
And I think if people can look at my example, if they can see that their actions really do affect other people, mm-hmm. and that they're creative, the gifts that they're given, mm-hmm. in their life, if they share those gifts with other people and they put it together in a nice plan, that they can really create something that passes on, that lives longer than they do,
Legacy.
Legacy. Yeah.
I can say that I can say that so many of the people that I know that have given me knowledge in my life, who've been those mentors for me, have passed on.
Yeah.
But because they passed on the knowledge to me, they really haven't passed on. They're still there. They made that investment in me, and they made that investment in me because they saw that I wanted to invest in more than myself. And I want to continue that. And I want other people to see the virtue in that as well.
Amen. Yeah. I love that.
Man, that's amazing. And I'm going to do my best to support this place, because that's why I'm so thankful we walked in here and that day and met up with you. And in the conversation, we had like a 3-hour conversation, I think, right from the jump. And I'm just thankful, man. What's what's the best way for people to come in and support like this place? Is that to come on the weekends? Like you said, we got Fridays, comedy.
Yeah.
And then you got karaoke on the weekends as well. So
pay attention. You can find Cosmos Court on Facebook.
Yeah.
Cosmoscourt.com. We have a new website that's coming up soon. It'll have a lot more event information on there. Our menus will all be up there. We've just been kind of, again, doing it right, working with the right people and getting it all done properly. So it hasn't been fast, but it's being done proper. So when that's rocking and rolling, stay tuned to all of that.
Yeah.
And tell your friends, word of mouth is the best advertising. You know, when you have something that you like and you see, tell your friends.
Facts.
And also that don't have the mentality, or don't be afraid to step up against the mentality when people say, when they immediately say things. One of the comments we got when we first opened this place, and it was not a personal jab.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I took that was that kind of stung, because this is where we are. Mm-hmm. And the comment was, we're going to have to get out there before that place closes. Mm. And I realized that wasn't a personal jab.
No, yeah.
That was somebody who's trained in their mind to expect that anything cool is going to be gone.
Yeah.
And we got to change that.
You have to support.
We have to
start
step
at the top.
outside, come out,
Yeah.
You don't gotta go to Lawrence en masse. Like this Topeka downtown is it's special down here.
Yeah, it is.
This place is amazing. We're not just saying that. Like Cosmos Court is really cool, man. I can't wait to do a set here. I cannot wait. This place is awesome, man.
Can't wait to have you.
Yeah.
It's gonna be amazing. And you heard it here first. Go get a pizza from Cosmos Court. They make the mini personalized pizzas, and they go to the large ones.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
I'll kill a whole large, but yo.
Yes, go get yourself a pizza from here, because you won't regret it. I promise you won't regret it. It is so good. And I kind of give myself the title of an undercover Ninja Turtle, and I love pizza. So being
say what?
That is one heck of a compliment.
Yes, and
Absolutely.
and if people, so I say I'm an undercover Ninja Turtle, because some people might know, but really I am.
I was gonna say, I've always known, bro.
Yeah.
I knew you were a Ninja Turtle, man, because so am I.
really I am. But I'm rating it a 20 out of 10 for sure. So definitely come get. That's the best way to support.
I'm right there with you.
Come get a pizza, man. Come chop it up with Chris when you see him. Come in here and just see the great vibes. And
we're open 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day but Sunday.
Every day but come on.
And if you're coming out on the weekends, we're open until 1.
Yeah, and you could get a pizza until
1.
You
can get a pizza until 1.
And you can get a pizza until 1 a.m.
Yeah.
IHOP ain't serving pizzas.
No. Right. Pizza Hut. I don't even think Pizza Hut.
Yeah,
Pizza Hut ain't delivering.
Well, I'm not serving eggs at that time, so you want to get to come here for the pizza.
Yeah, for sure. Now, as last question, what's your favorite memory or favorite thing about Topeka?
Oh, there are so many.
Just one that sticks out. That's really
so many people. I mean, there are so many amazing people here, and so many experiences that I've been able to have with that. So it is not an easy question.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have to say that, being really young and being also a creative and having aspirations to get, ambitions and to want to do things. I got to say that I'm going to give a shout out to Topeka Civic Theater.
Let's go. Okay.
Because they had programs that got me on stage, that helped me be around other people that were like me when I was 14 years old. I got cast on stage at the Topeka Performing Arts Center, being the mayor of Munchkinland. Yeah, right. I'm gonna say that whole thing right there showed me so much about how we can manifest our dreams, how there are other people that are like us, how we just have to find our right crowd. And I got to throw it out to those guys. They've done just over the history, and they've got a long-standing history of doing this. But you look at community theater like that, and for me personally, and the people that supported it, and I got to say that I think that institution among so many of them that I could totally mention and probably should, but if I have to pick one just off the top of mine that I think would be the most influential in the change, it was that at a young age, I had the ability to really get involved with people who it transcended who I was in school with.
Yeah.
Because you go to school based upon who your neighbor's with, and there's all types of people there.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really feel often that you connected in that. But when you have a place where that mindset connects with literally everybody there, that was magic for me, and I think that kind of transcends, what we're doing here. We want to be able to create that on a multiple event micro level. We want to be able to have that kind of click happen in the minds of the people that come here, whether they're saying, I love karaoke, I love getting up on stage, entertaining people, I want to sing, I want to do this. We're going to give you a place to go do that every single week, where you can be around the same people who like to do the same thing. And you don't even have to think about it. Nobody has to plan it. You can just show up.
Yeah.
The same thing with comedy, with all of those things. We all need to laugh a little bit more. We all need to connect a little bit more. And I think if you go back to the root of that, it comes from learning that at a young age and being around it, realizing that I could be a part of this circle of people who could make magic happen. And I want to create that. I want to create that in so many different ways at this place.
Well, you're doing it.
Yeah, you're
doing it. Phase
Thank
2,
you.
right?
That's phase 2.
We're in phase 2 and it's happening.
3, 4, and 5 coming soon.
Yeah.
There we go.
Let's
All
go,
right.
man.
One more thing. Where can they find you at again?
We're at 909 South Kansas Avenue. Go to cosmoscourt.com. Check us out on Facebook. Also on Twitter, X, whatever they call that now.
Threads.
Something.
I deleted that.
But social
quick.
media.
I don't know. Yeah.
Social media.
I don't think we've made a post on it yet, but we have an account.
Yep.
I've never even started it. I was like, there's too many. There's too many. But all right, man. Thank you again, Chris.
Hey, thank you.
I'm from Topeka Podcast.
Yo,
man.
Make sure each and every one of you watching on YouTube, drop a comment down below. Leave us something that you liked about this conversation and just hit that subscribe button. It's just a quick little thumb effort or finger, whichever one. But yeah.
Yeah. And hit that bell notification too. So that way you never miss an episode. We always drop premieres. So you'll be able to get a notification that, hey, this next episode's coming out this Wednesday or this next episode's coming out on Sunday. So hit that bell notification and you will never miss an episode.
And one more thing, you guys watching these guys, when you see them do this, realize this is really hard work, what they're doing here. And we need to give them as much support and encouragement as we can, because what they're doing is incredibly valuable to our community. So
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. I want you to know that.
Thank you so much.
I want you all, everybody watching to know
we can't do it without you guys.
Really important to be a part of it.
For sure. Yeah. Hey, man. Same thing with you. And
thank you.
That you're doing for us too as well. So
thank you.
A lot more coming, y'all. A lot more
Episode
coming.
5.
Episode 5. Here it is.
Much love, y'all.
Thank y'all.
North, south,
Peace.
west to the east side. Topeka. I love Topeka, baby. It's about the people, baby. Yeah. I love my city, baby. From the north, south, west to the east side. Topeka. I love my city, baby.